Hey everybody, this is Chase Petiche, the Witchy Bitch. I'm here this week again to actually discuss a pop culture icon because I woke up in the middle of the night last night and just randomly had this idea, had this thought that came to me. And usually when things come to me in the middle of the night like that, they're coming directly from spirit. So I felt the need to make a post, and I'm probably going to write an article about this. But so this post is actually about Billie Eilish, and I've been really interested in Billie Eilish. I live in LA now, and Billie Eilish is everywhere, she's very curious to me because she's become so popular, and most of the pop stars that I see around in LA are very, very commercial. You know, people like Ariana Grande and well, Lizzo's pretty popular right now, but she's not super commercial. But you know what I'm talking about. Like that, there's a kind of a formula, a pop formula that's kind of been done. You know, I don't really listen to a lot of pop music, but you know, this kind of revolutionary and newness of Billie Eilish has really made me think, why is she so popular right now? What is it about Billie Eilish? So I really went in and I kind of dug into her material, and I really kind of absorbed it. And I realized in the middle of the night last night, you know, Billie Eilish is expressing, she is releasing the deeper undercurrents of what is kind of happening to us culturally, especially in the US, but around the world, of this darker energy, which has a lot to do with depression, feeling bad, suicidal thoughts, because she addresses that in her music. You know, there's a song called Bury a Friend, and in it she says, I want to end me. You know, her signature song that's gotten billions of downloads is Bad Guy. And you know, when she and her brother accepted the award, the Grammy, they both were like, we made this album because we were depressed about climate change, we were depressed about the state of the world, and we did it purely from the need to create something out of all this darkness. And so what I feel from them is that they're really channeling, they're releasing this deeper sentimental energy that is happening around the country, especially in the USA, of this shadow. And you know, what I really, there's a resonance there. And that's what music really provides, is a resonance, it's a vibration, and there is a resonance with Billie Eilish and her brother and this kind of darker energy. And what I really believe, and this is what I really, really believe, is that we're hit a time in human history where we're kind of hitting the era of the shadow. And you know, I talk about the shadow a lot, and it's because for me, I've done every kind of healing that any person can possibly do, but until I started really doing shadow work, shadow retrieval, shadow integration, the shadow being the parts of ourselves that are in the dark, the parts of ourselves that we don't want to show, the parts of ourselves that we don't want to be, the parts of ourselves that we don't want to acknowledge, consciously or unconsciously, the darker parts. Because there's yin and there's yang. But our culture for so long has been this culture that has the patriarchal world culture, but the American patriarchal culture specifically is really in this Protestant work ethic of being in the light and being good. And Billie Eilish, you know, a lot of her songs talk about darkness and the devil and being bad. And it's this undercurrent energy that is being is resonant. And really what is really interesting, and this is what I've grown to believe, is that energy of black and white, good and bad, all we're doing, because the black, the dark, the yin, it exists. You can't run away from it. It's part of being. It's part of existing. And when we ignore it, what happens is we suppress it and we suppress it and we suppress it. And that's when really dark things start to emerge. That's when people kill themselves. That's when they kill others. That's when they destroy. That's when the greed becomes so out of hand. And actually reconciling and beginning to open up to our own darkness is really actually becoming more integrated. And it's actually beginning to acknowledge our own imperfection, our own truth. Because what I've realized, especially with everything that's happening culturally, is that the darkness, and this goes back to the yin and the yang, the Tao, okay? The darkness is the feminine. I mean, it is in yin and yang, The darkness is yin. The dark, it's the moon time. It's the undercurrent. It's the internal. And that's exactly how it's being played out in our culture. The feminine, the shadow, is finally starting to come out. And what that means is that the shadow is also where our truth is. Because when we're constantly living in the light, yes, of course, we can be positive, and we can be productive, and we can be, you know, how we're supposed to be in society. But always there's an undercurrent and there's a truth that is not pretty because of the world that the culture at large, it doesn't accept that imperfection. And so we hide it, we put it down. And you know, all of this is simultaneous, because what we're entering now is we're entering an era of paradox. We're entering an era, a quantum era. We're entering an era where two things can simultaneously exist that are opposites. It's not one or the other, the era of duality, of Newtonian, linear time, Newtonian linear time. No, we're entering a quantum era where many things exist simultaneously at once, and there can be two things that are opposite that are both true, okay? And when we that is allowing the energy of the shadow to begin to emerge. And, you know, I've moved to LA, I've been here about 2 months now, and you know, I really have to stay spiritually grounded, especially for the area I live in, which I somehow ended up in, which is like West Hollywood, kind of near Beverly Hills, which I never in a million years thought I would end up here, but I have, and it's where I belong, and I'm surrendering to that. But I have to keep myself very spiritually grounded. Otherwise, if I start to absorb the level of shallowness and emptiness, there's really an emptiness. And I'm not putting anybody down who lives in LA who's watching this. It's a deeper energetic undercurrent that is really based in this level of materialism. Materialism is being based with the exterior, the material, what we can see, what we can feel. And it's missing the elemental energies that are of the interior, that are energetic, that are emotional, that are empathic, that are sensitive. And what I feel in this area that I live in, if I really tune into it, is this overemphasis on the external and the material. And it can really affect me and make me feel really sad, because I can feel that there's this emptiness and there's a lot of sadness. It's really interesting because there's so much stuff, right? And it's the ultimate, you know, truth that money cannot buy happiness. You know, I mean, we say that and people are like, yeah, right, if I had $1 million, I sure would be happy. And it's like, yeah, money actually relieves stress, sure, of having to support yourself in some ways, but does it bring connection? Does it bring absolute joy? Some of you might be saying, yes, if I have a Lamborghini, yes. For how long? For how long until you really want something else, where you think something else is going to fulfill you, where you think something else, getting this other stuff, getting this other thing. And it's the same thing with the idea of the exterior, with the plastic surgery, with it never being enough, with the idea, and it goes along with this idea of perfection, living in the light, unable to open up to our darker selves, our imperfection, the feminine, the empathic, the truth. And what I feel so deeply, and what I feel Billie Eilish is tapping into, and what I am tapping into, and that's why I feel aligned with her work, is that there is a deeper energetic undercurrent that is desperate, that is coming out, and that humans are feeling desperate to feel at this time in history, and it is the shadow, and the shadow is our truth. And what it is it's not just our truth, but it's a deeper energetic undercurrent and a connection to something that is greater than the self. A connection that is something that is greater than the material, that is greater than just the external. It's beginning to integrate a deeper, fundamental, enchanted, benevolent energy, and beginning to work with that energy, channel that energy, and allow that energy to work through you so that you can become more guided, integrated, and true about your own existence. You can become more honest. You can become more authentic when you're not operating from this place of constantly needing to fit in, which is of the light, which is of the masculine, which is of the perfection. When we start opening up to the darkness, the yin, the feminine, the other side, we allow ourselves to become whole, more complete. We're opening ourselves up to our truth, and we're simultaneously opening ourselves up to true connection to the spirit realm, which is what I feel is so deeply needed at this time in where we're at in human history, with so much going on politically, on planet Earth, you know, our ecosystems, politically, like in our own personal relationships. You know, this is a time of massive change, upheaval, and breakdown, and simultaneous breakthrough. And that is why I make these videos, because we don't know what to break through, what the breakthrough is. And what I'm here to say is that the breakthrough is the breakthrough of the feminine. It's the breakthrough of your own feminine nature, of your own empathy, your own truth, your own darkness, the things in yourself you have not wanted to truly face, your own wounding, which when turned to, faced, and access, the self becomes more truly whole. You know, the more light we bring to our own darkness, and this is what I fundamentally believe, because this is my own journey, okay? Really, is that the deeper I go into my own darkness and the more light that I bring to it, the more fully, because what I'm doing, like I've said before, the most powerful thing anyone can do for anyone and anything is that give them their attention, which honestly means giving your attention to yourself as well. So when you are actually bringing your own consciousness to a part of yourself that you haven't actually wanted to face ever, and you start doing that, and you start working with the deeper levels of energetic wounding, and you start opening that part of you up, what you're doing is you're bringing light to your own darkness. And when you do that, you actually are able to shine so much brighter, because there's not a part of you that's hidden anymore. It's integrated. And ultimately that means that you're more whole, and you feel more connected, you feel more protected, you feel more guided, you feel more aligned, and you feel less empty, you feel less depressed, you feel less uncertain. And this is my deepest prayer for all of humanity. And this is why I believe Billie Eilish's work is so important, and touching on some deeper energetic cultural energy that is the undercurrent of what is happening right now. Because I haven't seen somebody this dark in pop culture in quite a while. I mean, there was 9 Inch Nails. I'm trying to think of people who are really, really dark, who had this kind of dark energy, not to this degree. There's something that is getting tapped in right now that is asked to be looked at, opened up, and integrated, so that all of us can become more whole and more of ourselves. So that's my little piece of shadow work for the day. I love you all, and deepest blessings.